All right, let's go out. We're gonna make a trade here on EMC. In fact, already did it. The alert went out. Let me show you what that was here. We bought some calls on EMC, and we went out and we bought these January 23 calls on EMC. These are the regular monthly calls on EMC. They're not weeklies. EMC doesn't have weekly calls, but these are the monthly. You can see my fill price down here. Okay, my mark of 96, 96.5. Well, that's the current mark. My entry was 95.5, so we put out 96 as the entry price there. Anywhere between 90 and $1.05. The risk reward makes sense here. Okay, the risk reward makes sense overall with that. EMC, we've talked about it a couple times here today. Really, it's a bear trap. EMC is a bear trap. It's had this downward trend, consolidation, breakdown. You would expect that downtrend to continue. It found support from the July lows. Strong snapback here today. Some decent volume overall. Breaking back above the 7-day moving average. The setup is just compelling. And we looked at potentially getting into some put options on a couple things, and decided with the setup here on EMC, we would just rather be in the calls and go with that. We did 13 contracts, lucky number 13, so that leaves us just a little bit of cash. For the challenge, we didn't put everything in. But 13 contracts here at about 96 cents here on EMC. Okay. As far as price action, we're looking for EMC to break above these highs, these November, December highs. Why? Well, because on bear traps, generally there's enough push to break the highs from the consolidation, to push up into 24 and a half, even potentially 25. I doubt we'd hold it that long up into the 25 area there, but that's kind of where some of the technicals point to here on EMC. Okay. As far as a stopping point for EMC, all right, if we kind of break this down on an hourly here, you'll see it's kind of pulled back just a little bit here over the last couple minutes, or over the last hour and a half. It's pretty much, there's not been a whole lot of volume here around 23.70. Okay, to see this thing potentially weaken 10-15 cents tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me. Okay, it wouldn't surprise me. At the same time, I think there's enough gap up risk here that I don't want to wait for a 10-cent pullback, as we may miss it. But we start to break below 23 and a half. I get concerned, and then 23.40 is the enough is enough. As far as we break today's opening prices, that would say, hey, this bear trap is not in play here, and is not working out. So we'd back on out of there. Okay. There's quite a bit of volume on these options here today, but you'll notice relative to the open interest, the volume isn't that high. Okay, we're not talking about anything super incredible as far as the options overall here on EMC. Okay, so EMC. All right. Now, I know this is a little bit different than what we had talked about. We had talked about going after some puts. We had looked at Johnson & Johnson, priced some of those out, priced some Clorox, priced out some Hershey, even priced out some Allstate. And, while, yes, there are some bearish setups here for things like Johnson & Johnson, the risk-reward scenario just isn't as good as for something like EMC. Okay. And, so we did go with the second bullish. Obviously, that puts us at a little bit of risk if things deteriorate. We would expect to pull at least one of these off before the Fed Wednesday. Okay. Max, Apple kind of fading here into the close overall. It was a nice move here this morning, not getting much follow through into the end. We've seen just Apple since it hit these highs either sell off in the last hour or sell off in the first hour, of the day. I don't think these are overly bearish moves, but for those of you who are in the upside on Apple, it frankly, it frankly stinks. But for those of us kind of waiting here for Apple to get a little juicier, we're getting closer. We're getting closer down into some of these retracements where we would like to be. Apple does concern me just a little bit as it's had upgrades the last 2 days and really hasn't been able to get a lot of juice in it. But I don't think it's going to be a major sell-off. In fact, I think Apple does have a nice year-end rally. To see it come down here to 545 for those of us who aren't in it would kind of be ideal scenario. Okay, you caught that one, SPM, huh? Yeah, a little juicier. You gotta love it. Yeah, Max. As far as a challenge trade on Apple, yeah, no, I would like to. I would like to. We missed our opportunity. Didn't pull MRO off fast enough, and missed our major opportunity back there. But a lot of you were able to jump on there. Yeah, Herbalife had the stock was halted. News came out. Jay, I believe it was you that put the news in there. Thank you for that. As far as for Herbalife here, you know what? Herbalife's a tough one to mess with. You have billionaires fighting about it, just absolutely fighting about Herbalife. Some saying it's going bankrupt and shorting the heck out of it. Others who are just getting and pushing it up and up and up and up. And so for me, Herbalife's not even on my trading radar unless we were to see some type of reversal that's just incredible. I really just don't want to mess with it. Amazon, we priced out Amazon options here today for the challenge. We priced on it. We priced out some Amazon calls. The risk reward scenario isn't the greatest overall. To see Amazon come down to 360 still could happen here. Okay. Um, Icon can announce today that he sold on this pop. Yeah, Max, he absolutely can for Herbalife, right? Yeah, Micron. What do I think about Micron here? Look, this isn't significant action for Micron here today. It's nothing that's overly bearish. Volumes are low. It's still holding the seven. I know the seven's at what 22.78. The stock's at 22.80. But in general, 5 cents up, 5 cents down. It's holding the seven from an hour, even if you kind of break this down a little more short term, yes, it's had the pullback. 2250 is kind of your support here. Ideally, you'd like to see this gap up above 23 tomorrow to play it up. But, you're dealing with a stock that is overbought. And so to have these 50-cent moves, it's just not, they're not necessarily significant. Micron's no different today than what it was 2 days ago. It's no different today than what it was 3 days ago. It's just kind of the general oscillations there. Morgan Stanley is also very similar here. Now, Morgan Stanley and some of these banks, they sold off here initially this morning. Some of these bigger banks, but it's kind of sold off Morgan Stanley on an hourly standpoint back to the 3080 area, which is kind of almost a nice pickup area for it. Notice volume's low, still above the seven. There's nothing to change the trend here, on Morgan Stanley. If I were in Morgan Stanley calls, I wouldn't move out of them at all. I would continue to hold on to them. Yeah, thanks, Richard. The news on GM putting the money into their plants. We had similar news out of Ford yesterday, right? Where they were going to be hiring 5,000 or something people and whatnot. So kind of some confirming news for GM and Ford. Okay. Yeah, MS is rock climbing. Back slowly. Yeah, yeah. All right, so we entered two trades here. Halliburton here. Okay, Halliburton on the kind of the kicking action here. Not a ton of volume here today, but we had the volumes last week kind of basing this down here around 49. Break it back up above 50 today. Very bullish move. We expect some follow through into the $52 area. And then EMC here, which is a bear trap deluxe. If you've never seen a bear trap and you want to see a bear trap as far as what it should look like when you're looking to enter, EMC is a classic case. How do you learn about bear traps? Well, you learn about bear traps from being short and getting stuck in them. And, you learn about it by being short EMC, seeing this type of action and knowing it just goes up and your short never comes back. And so basically you have the downside triggers, the downside signals. It snaps back aggressively, back above support, tends to have a lot of upside follow through. SPM, you were in it. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, EMC it's kind of that classic bear trap case. We had seen one on Vegas Sands back here. Vegas Sands, and I know it doesn't look like much of a scale anymore given how much Vegas Sands has gone up since. But Vegas Sands, Trend Rider Bear, broke down, had some negative divergence in the indicators, good volumes on the breakdown, snaps back on a bear trap, and just boom. Bear traps a lot of times are the start of brand new uptrends here. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. We're about 15 minutes for the market close. Market overall here is pretty much kind of sitting flat. Let's pull up the S&P futures. We had kind of typical action for today. We had market futures opened up. We surged initially. We saw some selling come into some of the consumer staples, into some of the technology that kind of took the market back down just a little bit. But from a range standpoint, not a huge range. Generally lighter volumes, a lighter volume Monday, but overall strongly bullish action here. Okay. Nucor. Yeah, Nucor here, which pushed up to what, 53, shot back down, now shooting back up above 52. Yeah, the action there on, what was that, Wednesday? That was some pretty funky action there on Nucor. I don't think it's overly bearish for it. Uh, it really kind of says, hey, there's probably more of a risk of consolidation, and we probably need some really good Fed news to see the breakout happen. Okay. Yeah, so those new core. What those of you who were with me, we got some of those new core calls. They've been doing real well. They had doubled, then they gave back. Now they're kind of coming back. They're kind of all over the place with that. Yeah, Lulu. View on Lulu. My view on Lulu is there's no reason for it to go up. It's now hit for the third time this year with bad news, and there's really no reason for it to go higher. There's a lot of reason to sell. Investors will put up with bad news once. They'll put up with it even twice, but three times, they generally won't put up with it. And so the kind of the third gapping down, I would not be surprised to see Lulu go even lower. At the same time, there's no way I'm buying puts right here into this. This is just on a tear, lower. Even from a technical standpoint, very difficult to put any sort of target on it for Lulu to say, well, Lulu's going to go to 55 or 50. This is a fundamental move here on Lulu. To see it go down in the 50, even the $40 range wouldn't be overly surprising here for Lulu there. But very difficult to play from a risk reward standpoint. Yeah, VeriSign. VeriSign here peaked in at resistance. From a technical standpoint, I'd actually argue that VeriSign is breaking out or continuing its upward trend. You got some good volumes. You're at a new 52-week high. In bull markets, stocks that set new 52-week highs tend to go higher. Could there be a moderate pullback on it? Sure. But overall, the trend remains bullish. There's nothing here that would say, oh, it's at resistance. It's got to go down. The volumes here. Look at the volumes as this thing consolidated. They were relatively light. We didn't go up and hit this 5750 area on any big volume that would say, hey, there's some real sellers sitting here. No, just the opposite. It pulls back a little bit. Now you have volume come in to take it higher. 8 points bullish in every way, shape, or form. Just from a technical standpoint. Now, again, I don't know when earnings are fundamentally what's going on here with VeriSign, but the trend remains very positive. Yeah, HOT, Marriott, this whole group was upgraded. Hyatt hotels here, they were all upgraded this morning by the same firm. They basically upgraded. They upgraded them all. So, is it a product of the Hilton IPO? No, not necessarily. It's more a product of the upgrade that came in for all the stocks in the sector except for Hilton. Yeah, Hilton IPO. I know some of you have talked about buying into it and whatnot. When it comes to IPOs, I always look at it as, okay, what are you trying to sell now? The same way I look at door-to-door salesman. What are you trying to sell me now? And I look at it with skepticism until there's a reason to be a buyer. And Hilton. It looks like it's been a little active today, huh? I look at Hilton that way. Just in 2007, Hilton went private. They took it all private. Now coming out 6 years later and issuing stock on it, it makes me wonder if they're trying to sell high. It just makes me wonder if they're trying to sell high. Yeah, well, yeah. No, there could be a lot of things said about the Hilton daughter situation, right? Um, so that's really kind of what's happening with the sector. If I were to buy any of the group here today, it would be Marriott, just simply because of the overall. It's just a little bit smoother overall. There. Alrighty. Well, thanks for hopping on. Any questions, please feel free to let Carl or I know. Happy to help you out there. In summary, we bought some Halliburton calls here this afternoon, and we bought some EMC calls here this afternoon, and we have our price targets for stops in place there. We don't have any program stops. We are looking to pull one of them off ahead of the Fed, maybe both, depending on what type of move we get on those here tomorrow. But both of them with very similar principles, with fresh breaks above the 7-day moving average after pullbacks, and so we'll look for those sevens to hold, and hopefully we get some nice new uptrends to ride for a few days on Halliburton and EMC. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.